I want to show you something about visibility. Let's create a cube. And the cube has attributes, obviously. And one section is the object display. The object display has visibility. And when you uncheck this, you don't see the cube anymore. Now, how about rendering? Let's create a plane, make it larger, and have a look at that cube. We need a light, and we create an area light, make it bigger, move it over here, and uncheck normalize so it will be a little bit brighter, and we'll render this scene now. This is the object we have. Let's go back to the polygon cube. When we uncheck visibility, it's not being rendered anymore. But how about LOD visibility? When we uncheck this, it's rendered, but we don't see it in the viewport. We can do the same thing with the light, for example. If we don't want to see the light, but it's still active, we could turn off the LOD visibility, so we don't see it in the viewport, but its effect will still be rendered. LOD means level of detail, and I don't know what this has to do with the visibility, but it has to do with some LOD group terminology, which I've never cared about. Here's the template. The template is something which sits there, and is it going to be rendered? No, it isn't, but it's sort of sitting in the scene, and it gives you a reference here. It doesn't disturb much because it's just sitting there. So the polygon cube is visible, and it's LOD visible unless we uncheck it. This would still make it renderable, but this is a method to get it out of the view. If you hide the object with the command H on the keyboard, it's gone, and it's still sitting here, obviously. And if you render the scene, it's not there anymore. So hiding is basically the same as visibility, but you can key visibility. And that's what we're going to do today. New scene. We'll create a plane, make it really large, and we give it a checkerboard texture. New material, Arnold, standard surface shader. We don't want it to be shiny, so we'll reduce this specular weight to 0, and we texture the color with a checkerboard, which is right here. We don't see it because we need to click here. So it's all done now. So this is our plane. Now we'll create a cube. We move it up and make it a little bit bigger. Give it another color, new material, Arnold standard surface shader, and maybe we choose the color of red or orange or red. Now we want this box to fall onto that ground and bounce off from there. In order to do this, we need to go to FX because it's a special effect. And we pick the cube and we go to Fields and Solvers and just give it gravity. We could invoke the gravity command without picking that object, then the gravity would be in the scene, but no object would be influenced by the gravity. But with the object, with the cube selected, and we pick gravity, it's going to fall down. It's going to fall down through the plane. So how do we make it feel this surface? Very simple. We define this, the plane, as a rigid body. Field solvers, and we have two kinds of rigid bodies here. Create an active rigid body would be like this. The cube falls down onto the plane, and the plane, which is very big, reacts and not only pushes the cube up, it will move down a little bit according to the impulse in physics. A passive rigid body behaves totally unnaturally because it will always stay where it is. It doesn't care about the cube, but it will affect the cube. So it will always stay there, like the ground on the earth when there's no earthquake happening. This is what the simulation now looks like, with a bouncing cube. In order to make this a little bit more interesting, we move it up quite a bit and we rotate it just like this. And now when it falls down, it bounces a little bit more interestingly. Now let's extend the frame range to say 500 in order to see when the cube has finally landed and settled down. Somewhere around here, frame 200 in my animation. So let's stick here to this frame, like 200, maybe 210, and here I duplicate with Control D exactly that cube. Now I have a cube 1, a plane which is this one with a checkerboard, and a cube number 2 which sits right there where the cube number 1 sits. So what I'll do now is from frame 210 on, I'll key this cube. So let's set a keyframe here by pressing S. It's right here. Now go to maybe 310 and I move the cube over here, and I rotate it just a little bit, just like this, and I set another keyframe. Now the animation goes like this. And you know what I'm getting to? Make this cube invisible until the dynamic cube gets its resting position. That's frame 210 in my case. So I go forward to frame 209 and I toggle off visibility for it and set a key. Now go one frame further, 210, toggle on visibility and set a key. So the animation goes like this now. Of course I need to make this invisible too. 209 it should be visible, and 210 it should be invisible. Set a key. And now what you can do with this cube, of course, you can put it on a conveyor belt if you like. You just move it onto a conveyor belt which you built. On the conveyor belt will be cube number 3, which will be conveyed from here to there, for example, or in a roundabout. This is all I wanted to show you. It's about making things visible or invisible without actually telling the viewer that there are 2 or more objects involved. Bye-bye.